Hello everybody, this is Reddit user My Important Thoughts, and I'm making a leak finder for Spauwels, or Spauwels, depending on how we want to pronounce that, who is going to be playing a $1.50 heads-up sit and go on PokerStars. This leak finder is for beginning players and is probably not going to be too useful for intermediate to advanced players, but hopefully if you're new to heads-up sit and goes, or even new to poker altogether, you might learn a few things. Okay, so let's jump straight into it. We're min-raising with 8-6 offsuit and folding to a 3-bet, that looks good. And we would be folding here out of position. I think that's a little large for a C-bet. I think it's fine, but I think I might prefer like 45 or 40 or 50. 55 seems kind of large to me. Check calling is fine here with the flush draw. And I think checking the river is probably best. This is all okay so far. Yeah, and we will just fold here. There's no need to get into a crazy sort of 3-bet, 4-bet war on the flop when we don't have anything, because our opponent's just going to have an ace or 2-pair or something like that way too often. Oh, hang on. Right, this is getting interesting. Let me whiz back. Okay, so we've min-raised pre with Queen 10 suited, which is good. And on the flop, we've got the third nuts. We've got the Queen high flush. And I think we should definitely be betting here. I think that there's no question about it. We should always be betting here, and we should be betting at least half pot and probably more like 45 or 55 if that's the bet size we like going with on the flop, because we just have a strong hand and we want to get value. There's no need to get tricky and think, oh well, I'll slow play here, or maybe I'll get my opponent to bluff later, because we can just get so much value now. And there are an awful lot of worse hands that are going to call us on the flop. So if villain has a flush draw here, then they're going to call. So any hand with the ace of hearts or the king of hearts is going to call. If villain has any 9, they're going to call. If they have a pair between 3s and 9s, so a pocket pair like pocket 4s or pocket 8s, is probably going to call. It's definitely going to call if it includes a heart, so like 7 of hearts, 7 of diamonds is definitely calling. And also, we've just seen villain check raise in the previous flop. So there's a possibility that villain will check raise here, either as a semi-bluff or a bluff, or even with something like Jack 9, say Jack 9 of clubs. And we really want to give villain the opportunity to do that here, because we've got such a strong hand. We want villain to be raising, or at the very least calling. And if we want to be setting up a big pot at the river, so we can win a huge pot here of, I don't know, a pot worth 500 chips or 1,000 chips, or maybe even we get our opponent's entire stack, the only way to do that really is to be betting the flop. Because if we get to the turn, we'll just only have 2 more streets to get value, and whereas if we bet the flop, we've got 3 streets. And because the pot increases geometrically every time on every street that there's a bet, it makes a huge difference if we lose a street of value here. So yeah, so I definitely think we should be betting like 50 or 55 here. But we chip behind instead, which is just bad. And we're going to min-raise the turn, which is kind of weird, but I guess when we chip behind, that's plausible. But yeah, we should just bet the flop there. Okay, we check. Let me just pause the video again. I'm not sure what I think about this, because we've quite likely have the best hand here. King 8 is going to be the best hand a lot of the time, but I'm not sure about raising here. I think we can definitely just check call, but I think if we raise, we're kind of in a weird spot on the turn, and there are a lot of cards that are kind of a bit awkward for us, like any spade, any card, 9, 10, queen or ace is kind of weird, and we then can't carry on value betting. So I'm not quite sure what we do then. Are we going to check call? Are we going to turn a hand into a bluff? Like, I mean, if the queen of spades comes down, are we now bluffing? Are we bluffing with king 8, or are we giving up? Or I don't know what we're doing. So I think it's probably better to just check call here. I mean, you could check raise, but I think you're just getting yourself into a odd spot on the turn when you don't need to be, and you're also setting up quite a big pot with a sort of very medium strength hand. So I think I just like calling here and seeing a turn. And I mean, if we had king jack, then I think raising is great, and we can just raise for pure value, and we'll get called by lots of worse hands. But with king 8, I think check calling is probably best. And like something else we need to think about, what are we going to do if villain 3-bets us on the flop? I mean, we definitely don't want. I mean, we're never getting it in ahead with king 8 here. We are either going to be getting it in against a pocket pair queens or higher, or a jack, or some kind of huge draw like queen 10 of spades, where we're actually behind. So I mean, we're never getting it in on the flop ahead when we're ahead. So I think, yeah, check calling is kind of best here. But we check raise and we take it down. We could, I think on the river there we can probably bet, because we have second pair, and I don't think villain ever has a jack there, so villain will call with a 5 or a 4 there. So yeah, so I think we can bet the river there with our pair of 6s. I think leading is good here. I think 25 is fine. It's interesting to note that villain is limping a lot. Oh, I'm going to pause the video again here. So villain's limped again, which they obviously like to do. And with king jack, obviously we should definitely raise for value, because we will have the best hand a huge percentage of the time, and it plays pretty well. And we've only made it 40, so we've made the minimum raise possible. And I don't think this is good. I think we can raise to say 80 or 90 here just for value, and sometimes we'll just take it down, and then we'll fold like 3-5 offsuit, and some of the time villain will call, and they'll often be calling with worse hands, and in particular they might be calling with dominated hands. So someone like king 5 or jack 9 is probably going to call if we make it like 85, and that is fantastic for us because we're in a great position on the flop. And if like the flop comes king 2-2 and villain has king 5, we're probably going to win a big pot. So yeah, so I just like raising to 80 just for pure value. And we definitely should be c-betting on this flop. I mean, we don't have anything, but I think that the ace appears to hit us very well, because if we have, say, ace jack, we're definitely raising. If we have ace king, we're definitely raising. So we definitely should be c-betting here. And villain calls, and the turn is not good, because villain could definitely have something like 6-7 here. And now on the river, we're kind of not in a great spot. Villain could have like an ace and have limp called pre-flop, which is kind of odd but possible. Or I mean, villain could have quads, which is unlikely but possible. And villain could be going for sort of thin value with a 3. But on the other hand, villain could have some kind of missed straight draw, like 4-5, 5-7, 7-4 or something that called pre-flop, and I think something like 7-4 offsuit isn't going to fold to a min-raise pre-flop. So I'm not entirely sure what we should be doing here. I think it's kind of close. I think we are ahead sometimes, but I think if calling or folding are both fine. I think given the pot odds of like 2.7 to 1, 2.6 to 1, I think calling is okay, and folding is okay as well. And I think I can see here, thinking about it, and of course, and villain has ace-4, which is really interesting. The villain would limp pre-flop with ace-4, so he's definitely be taking a note of that. And I think that's just kind of unfortunate that the hand played out like that. I don't really think there's much we could do. I mean, there's an argument for folding river, but I think we are good some of the time there, so I think calling was fine. I can't fault that. I think we should see it here with the open-ended straight draw and bottom pair. That seems good. Here, I think leading is better than checking here. I think villain has shown no sign of aggression in limped pots, so there's a very strong chance that they will check back whatever they have at the moment, and it's much better for us to bet than to let them check back, because we can just get value, and it also gives us a level of protection against draws like 7-4, 6-7, or any 2 spades. So yeah, I definitely like betting 25 on the flop. We should 100% be betting the turn when villain checks back flop, but villain just folds. We're going to mix it up and make it 3 times the big blind with Jack 9, which is fine. I think anywhere between a min raise and 3xing it is totally fine. I definitely don't like going any higher than that, and I think most of the time we should be raising. Limping is okay with some of our hands, particularly if the opponent is very aggressive, but most of the time I think we should be raising. You can see bet here. I think on the turn we could. I don't think we need to be betting 125 on the turn. I think we can't really bet for value because I don't think anything worse than us is going to call apart from like 5x. So I'm not really sure what we're doing on the turn with that bet sizing. I think we could bet, maybe we could bet like 90, or we could check behind, because I don't think any, I mean, a 7 or a 6 is just never folding here. So I'm not sure quite why we're betting that sizing. I think betting like 90 or just checking behind is fine. This is kind of light to raise with. I mean, 2-3 suited is very weak, but it's fine to raise that, I think. Here, I'm not sure about this call. I think this might be a little bit too weak. Normally, I think it's fine to call a raise with Queen 2 suited out of position, but at the moment, I think that villain is not raising all of their hands at the moment. On the button, they seem to be limping a lot and even open folding. So I think their opening range should be quite strong. So I think there's an argument for folding here pre-flop. I mean, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I definitely don't think this is an automatic call in the way that, say, Jack 10 suited is you have to call with. So yeah, I'm not sure about that, and that is something to think about, how villains' decision to raise different percentages from the button impacts what their range is when they do raise. So someone who's only raising the top 20% of hands obviously has a much stronger range than someone with who's raising all of their hands. Here on the flop, I think we should just give up. We really shouldn't be getting into a weird spot where we're 3-betting with air here, I think. I mean, if villain's bluffing us, that's okay. That's not a big deal, but I think if we start 3-betting on the flop, then too much of the time villain is going to 4-bet us and get it in, or we're just going to be on a bizarre spot on the turn, like if an ace comes and we've got no idea where we are, and we're just going to be making all sorts of weird errors. And we just don't need to. You can win, I think, the games at this level without doing anything too complicated like 3-bet bluffing post flop. King 3, yeah, I think King 3 offsuit is probably a bit weak. I think King 3 suited we should call. I think something like, I mean, King 8 offsuit we should definitely call. I think King 3 offsuit is too weak to call. Jack 3 offsuit is definitely too weak to call. 5-4 offsuit, I think we can min raise. I think we can limp or fold. I think all of those are fine. I'd like raising it. I'd like to raise a bit bigger here with King Queen offsuit. I think we can raise like 100 or something, just for value. Again, same as with when we had the King Jack hand. I think we can make it 100 here, and just punish villain for calling too light, or else just steal the pot. But 85 is a lot better than just min raising it. And I think, and again, we definitely want to be c-betting here on the ace high flop, and this time we take it down, which is nice. Raising 2.5 big blinds with ace queen is good. 110, we just bet 110 for flop, which I think is too big. I don't think we need to bet that size. I think we do want a continuation bet here. I think, though there is an argument for checking behind, but I think continuation betting is totally fine here. But I think if we bet, say, 85 or 90 or something, that'll do pretty much the same job as betting 110. And the advantage is that when villain has something like King Jack, we're putting less into the pot when we don't have the best hand. So I think if we just bet 110, we're kind of unnecessarily throwing in too many chips when we don't have the best hand. Because villain is still going to fold to like 80 if they have, I don't know, 10-9 of diamonds. They're still going to fold. Oh, well, I mean, okay, not 10-9 of diamonds. Like 10-5 of diamonds, say. They're going to fold if we make it 90. But so we're not getting any extra sort of bluffing ability from making it 110, but we are losing out in terms of when villain has like King 7, we're just throwing in more chips than we need to. So I think betting like 90 would be better there. I'm not quite sure what the lead means. It's kind of weird for villain to do that. I mean, I think it wouldn't make a lot of sense for that to be. Let me just go back to that. Find that hand. Right, here we are. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for villain to lead here with a value hand, because we've been betting every flop in position so far. So you would think it would make sense if villain has, say, King 4, that they would want to check raise instead, as opposed to just chasing us out of the pot when they could get an extra C bet from us when we don't have anything. But I mean, I've seen people do all sorts of weird things at this level, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 4, or I mean, diamonds would make a lot of sense. Something like King 7 of diamonds. So, but either way, this is not a spot where we should be doing anything crazy. I mean, if we have like 5-6 of diamonds, then we could call, or we could even raise. But I think with like 5-6 offsuit, it would just be crazy to do anything but fold. And we do that, so that's good. But I'd be very interested to see what villain had there. I think we should be opening 10-6 offsuit probably. We definitely call King 5 suited. And we miss. But I think we're going to get creative here. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this play. I mean, we will get fold some percentage of the time, but I think most players at this stake have a tendency not to be folding a ton to this sort of play, and will either be calling too much or doing weird things like 3-betting us with like Queen Jack with the diamond. They might 3-bet. I mean, correctly against us in this case, but I think we are kind of putting ourselves. I mean, I think we just don't need to be doing this. We're throwing in 260 chips. We don't think we have the best hand. We're just doing it as a pure bluff, and I don't think that's a great thing to be doing. I mean, if we had say King 5 diamonds, then I think this is totally fine, because we'd have so much equity from the flush draw. But with just the sold king high and some backdoor draws, like, I mean, we've got backdoor spades, then I don't think that's enough to continue in the hand. I think we should just check fold. Yeah, and villain 3-bets is really, really small. I think there might have been a min 3-bet. I've got no idea what that means. That could have been complete air. That could have been like top set. I don't know what that meant, but either way, we can't do anything but fold that. We could have led turn, maybe. I'm not sure. I think checking is fine. We should definitely bet the river, though, because we've got second pair and villain just never has a jack here and is checking behind the turn, so we almost always have the best hand. Queen 4, so I think we should definitely be opening. I think just any queen is going to be strong enough to open pre-flop in position. And Queen 4 also isn't a monster hand, but it's definitely strong enough to play. We will simply be getting, I think, enough folds pre-flop on the flop to make it close to profitable, even assuming we never have the best hand, if that makes sense. So just in terms of fold equity, I think it's playable. And here, I think c-betting is good. I think giving up is definitely good on the turn, because villain has an ace or king way too often, so there's just no point in bowing. And here, I think this is a mistake. I think we don't need to be calling here with 9-6 suited. It's just not strong enough. Particularly when villain makes it 3 times the big blind. I think we should just fold there. I mean, like something like 10-9 suited or 10-9 offsuit, I think we can definitely go with, but 9-6 is just too low, I think, to be calling there. And look, yeah, we're going to check raise again, and here I like it much more, because we actually have some kind of hand. I mean, we're still bluffing, but we do have a lot more equity because we've got the third nut flush draw. So I think this is probably good. I mean, it's not really a great spot to stack off with if that's what we're planning on doing, because the third nut flush draw and 1 overcard is not amazing. But I think, given that villains seem to be c-betting a lot, I think this is going to be fine. I think this is fine. I mean, there's the safe option of just calling on the flop, but I think both of those options are perfectly fine. I think raising and I think calling are both fine. Here we should definitely be raising. I think 90 is about right. I think we can make it 100, but I think 90 is fine. Oh, that's odd. We've just folded. He was back. Yeah, we've got ace-3 offsuit out of position, and we've just folded pre-flop against a 3 big blind raise, and I don't think we should be doing that. I think any ace out of position against a 3x big blind raise is strong enough to play, because I mean, we'll have the best hand a lot of the time, and why fold? In particular, I'm interested why we're folding ace-3 offsuit but calling with 9-6 suited. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That doesn't seem to be very consistent. I would think ace-3 offsuit would be a stronger hand than 9-6 suited. it feels like a stronger hand. So if we're playing 9-6 suited, we've got to be playing ace-3 offsuit, I think. I'm wondering if our hero Spauwels is perhaps worried that if villain has a stronger ace, then we're going to be in trouble. And yeah, I mean, if villain has ace-10 and the flop comes ace-5-5, we are going to be in a hand where we might be making some mistakes and losing a big pot. But I think far too often we have the best hand here, and it's just strong enough to play. So yeah, so I think we can call that. King 5 offsuit, no idea what we're going to do here. We're going to fold it, which is okay. I think we had like King 9. I mean, King 9 offsuit we should definitely play. King 8 offsuit I think we should play. King 5 offsuit I just think it's fine to fold. King 5 suited we should definitely be playing. And we definitely won't be folding here to a 3-bet. No need to do anything crazy here like call or re-raise. We've got 10 high, we should just fold. Whoa. I've got no idea what is going on with the pre-flop calls. They seem to be all over the place. We've just called a 3 big blind raise with 9-2 suited, and I think that is really bad. I mean, yes, it's a suited hand, but I think I'm not quite sure where it is on the table. I'm thinking bottom 15% of hands. So I can't see any reason why we should be playing this. And I mean, there are lots of good hands that we can call with pre-flop, but 9-2 suited is not one of them. The fact that it's suited does not nearly make up for the fact that it's not connected and both of the cards are low. So we can just fold that pre-flop. And now we're going to lead out, which is kind of weird, but we take it down, which is kind of fortunate, I think. But there we are. 9-2 suited, we just won a decent pot with. But yeah, we should just fold that pre-flop. Here, this is quite interesting. Villain's just let me pause it here. Villain led the flop, and obviously doesn't have an ace because they wouldn't check fold the turn with any ace. I'm thinking. I'm not sure about our bet on the turn. I think that's fine. I think it's kind of light, but I think if we check, I'm not entirely sure about the turn, but I think we might be able to chip behind instead. But I think betting is fine. I've got no idea what to make of the flop lead by villain, apart from the fact that it obviously wasn't a monster. But yeah, I think betting there is fine. Here we should definitely be raising. I think we should always be raising with any big pocket pairs, like 10s or better. I think we should always be raising pre-flop. But we don't get any action. I think we could have probably 3-bet to a slightly larger size. I think like 200 would be better, or even like 190. Making it 160 is kind of... I mean, when we have specifically aces, it's not a big deal because we do want to call and we're not too worried about seeing pretty much any flop. But if we have, say, ace-king, I think we'll be letting in villain far too cheaply with something like jack-10 to see a flop in position. So I think making it about 200 with all of our hands is better. And I think we can just check fold here. We've got queen high, and I mean, villain's going to have a lot here, but with an ability to 3-bet the flop, I think this is not a good spot to be doing anything crazy unless we have 5, 6 or 4 there. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, right, let me start the video again. Right, Villain 3 bets to 240, which is what they've been doing, which is the same size as normal, and that seems totally normal. We've got ace 9 offsuit, and we've made it 650 now, which is like 49% of our stack or something. So we've basically put half our stack in the middle, and at this point we're totally committed. Whatever happens, we have to call pre-flop if villain moves all in. And post-flop, we're also essentially committed to the hand, really, given that it'll be twice the size of our remaining stack. So there's essentially an all-in move. And I don't like this. I mean, let's think about it. What hands could villain reasonably have that he or she is 3-betting here? I mean, they could have a pair, probably a high pair. So, I mean, pairs, I think, 8s or high are much more likely than pairs 7s or lower, because almost everyone at these stakes is going to be 3-betting pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, pocket jacks, pocket 10s, and some people will be 3-betting, say, pocket 5s, but I think an awful lot will just call free with pocket 5s. So there's lots of high pairs in P. Fedorov's range, and against those we're doing very badly with our ace 9. And the other thing that P. Fedorov could have is aces, most of which I think are going to be stronger. I think we're going to see ace 10 or higher much more often than we see ace 8 or lower. And if villain does have something like ace 5, I don't think they're going to get all the money in here with like ace 5 or even like a really low pair like pocket 3s. Are they getting in with pocket 3s? Probably not. So I kind of think we're almost certainly getting it in here against a better hand. And even if I've misjudged this, and P. Fedorov does have a wider range, and that could have show up with, say, pocket 6s, pocket 4s, ace 8, then I still think that most of the time we are behind. And some of the time when, the times we run into a worse ace don't nearly make up for the fact that most of the time we are running into a better hand here. So I think we're just getting it in here against a range that is much better than ace 9, and we don't need to do that. We can just call. So yeah, so I think this is a mistake. I think we should just call and see a flop, and getting all the money in, which is what we are essentially doing, is not a winning play, because we're just behind what villain likely has. And villain moves all in, and they have ace queen. So yes, I mean we didn't need to go broke here. Oh, okay, and well, we hit a 9 on the river, which is very fortunate, but let me just pause the video again. In that spot, almost all of the time, I think villain is going to have a better hand, and we just don't need to go broke there. If we just think about what hands villain could likely have, almost all of them beat ace 9. So just calling and seeing a flop is totally fine, because if we miss, then we don't lose too many chips. And if villain has something like pocket jacks, and the flop comes ace 3-3, then we're likely to win at least some chips for villain. But I think when we move all in, essentially with the ace 9, villain is kind of just playing perfectly against us, and is just going to call the bet with hands that beat us. And if for some crazy reason they had 10-5, they're definitely going to fold. So yeah, so I think that's a pretty big error, and that we need to be stacking off with a tighter range there. I mean, if we had, say, I think ace queen, we can get in there. I think ace king we can get in. I think pairs, certainly pocket 10s or higher, I think we can get in there. I mean, we're only 40 big blinds deep. I think with hands like pocket 9s or pocket 7s, it's kind of marginal, and we could jam and we could call. I wouldn't fold there. I mean, maybe I'd fold pocket 2s, but I think with medium pairs, calling is probably going to be very close in value to moving all in. And if we have something like two suited high cards, like if we've got king queen suited, we can definitely call the 3-bet, but obviously not going to raise. So yeah, so we didn't need to go broke there. the bow, though we were lucky in this case and we hit the 9. But yeah, that wasn't great. And here, I think King 4 offsuit, 9 big blinds deep, I think that's got to be a call. And villain shows up with Jack 5 offsuit, and that's the game. Okay, I hope you've all found that interesting and maybe learned a few things, and hopefully I'll be able to release another video in the future. Okay, good luck everyone.